Hey, what is going on guys, my name is Proto and today we're going to be taking another look at a PC build but stepping up our budget to an £800 PC. Now this is an awesome build if you're planning to do 1080p gaming and even 1440p for that matter. And whilst this title does say gaming PC, I make sure that when you're spending this much money on a PC, it can do a ton more such as editing, live streaming, etc. By the way, sorry if my voice sounds a bit crap, I've had a cold all week and want to bring this video out to you. Now I will show off some benchmarks so you know how it performs in games at the end, to stick around. Also, as a quick note, this build does have a red and black theme as well as having a very silent operation. So starting things off with the CPU, I've gone with the Intel Core i5 4690K 3.5GHz quad-core processor. At the time of making this video, the processor costs £177 and is not only one of the most popular, but also the best bang for the buck / performance that the i5 Intel offers. That, and you won't need any more for gaming. For the specs, the processor is a 4-core, and whilst it doesn't have hyper-threading, most games won't utilise that anyway for now. And when it comes to CPU-bound games, it's often clock speed that makes a difference when there isn't a lack of cores or other limiting factors, which is why at stock the CPU runs at 3.5GHz. That paired with the other parts in our build, and you can get around 4.4GHz with our paired cooler. Also, it does support the LG 1150 socket, meaning you can upgrade to an i7 later on, but honestly that doesn't make any sense when you're just playing games. Now because stock coolers aren't great for overclock, and we've also selected the Cooler Master Hyper 212 Evo. Not much to say other than that it will keep a CPU cool even when overclocking it at £25 is a great solution. It is an air cooler, and while some people might like the look of it, since they are normally quite bulky, I would say that they're cheaper than water cooling, which normally runs about £60 to £100, and also much more reliable since there are less moving parts. Next we've got the Mobo. For this I've gone with the epic MSI Z97 Gaming 3 ATX LGA 1150 motherboard, which retails at £94. The Mobo is absolutely packed with features for enthusiasts and overclockers. It has 4 DIMM slots for memory and also supports up to 3300MHz, as well as supporting RAID, Crossfire, but not SLI. It has 6 6GB per second SATA slots, as well as an M.2 slot, and then you have the expected USB 3.0 interface. Personally, with that many SATA ports, you could probably hook up a DVD drive, SSD for your OS, and several general hard drives for mass storage, not to mention it has a sexy black and red colour scheme, and with this Mobo you won't need a separate sound card for high-end audio since it comes with Audio Boost 2, which is absolutely fantastic. Another feature relevant for gaming is its killer E2200 game networking. In a nutshell, it prioritizes games to get the most data traffic. This means that you'll get less network lag in games because it reduces traffic to other applications such as Chrome. If you're a streamer, also it comes with a 6-month premium license to XSplit, which is a nice addition as well. It also features OC Genie and ClickBIOS 4, which can both automatically overclock your system and give you the option to do it manually. For this price, it's good value and well worth the money. For RAM, it's going to be the Kingston HyperX Fury Black 8GB 24GB DDR3 1866 memory. This seems to always make it into my build somehow, but it's because it's for £30 you get really good 2x4GB modules, and it has great speeds and performance for the price. You could upgrade to 16GB now or in the future, but if you just want to do gaming or even edit a little bit, you won't need that much. So for us, 8GB is enough. These sick heat spreaders will also match the build nicely. In terms of storage, we've gone with both an SSD for your OS and some games, as well as a hard drive for your mass storage. So for the SSD, we've got the Kingston SSDNow V300 series 120GB 2.5-inch solid state drive, coming in at £38. It's a pretty decent SSD with a capacity of 120GB, as mentioned in the title. It should be enough to load your OS and key applications. SSDs also make for a really great overall PC experience. They will beat your PC really fast and load games much faster, but once in game there's no real benefit. As for the hard drive, we've gone the Seagate Barracuda 2TB 3.5-inch 7200 RPM internal hard drive. This is just like any other mechanical hard drive, but also has a larger capacity than the one suggested normally. Now this drive does cost £50, but it isn't a bad deal when you consider nowadays games have huge files and 1TB won't suffice. The speed of the drive is 7200 RPM, so it's definitely not slower than any other alternative for HDDs. This brings us onto the video card. For our budget, we've got to go with the MSI Radeon R9 390 8GB video card. It's £265 and will do exceptional 1080p and 1440p gaming. It comes with 8GB of GDDR5, which is just overkill since in my opinion one card doesn't have enough horsepower to deliver that, but since VRAM doesn't stack when you go for Crossfire, it makes things much more interesting. Also, there's a lot more future compatibility when you have a lot more VRAM. If we put this card onto the overclock profile, it runs at 1060MHz, not bad by any means. It has 2 DVI-D connections, 1 HDMI and 1 DisplayPort. It also has the iconic zero frozer design, which makes overclocking more stable since airflow is better, as well as being really quiet. Afterburner makes overclocking simpler, whereas Predator makes screen recording a breeze. This product also comes with 6 months expert license, giving you a total of 12 months. That is if you pair this with the Mobo. As for this versus the 970, JayzTwoCents actually made a video about this. They basically trade blows at the moment, but give it some time, the 390 will surpass the 970. It's also cheaper than the 970 and comes with a whole usable 8GB of VRAM. This in turn gets rid of stutter when playing games like Shadow of Mordor, GTA 5 or COD AW, even at higher resolutions. Whilst AMD aren't as feature rich in comparison to Nvidia, it does have useful options such as Virtual Super Resolution, FreeSync, DX12 support, Eyefinity and Raptor. Lastly is MSI model sex appeal with its red and black colour scheme as well as its swift backplate. And as for the case, we've gone the Fractal design R5 with a window. This is a black ATX mid-tower case as well, costing us £80. Now this is a very silent and clean looking case with side panel to show off your components. Apart from supporting the obvious USB 3.0 connectors, there's room for two 5¼ inch bays, and internally two 2.5 inch bays and 8 3.5 inch bays for your drives. This case along with the H440 are considered the two quiet cases. This makes them ideal for gaming since you're focusing on the game rather than the fan spinning up. Now the front panel does open up to expose the 5¼ inch bays as well as the front fan. This also comes with two 140mm fans, dust filters and dedicated SSD mounts. While this case is expensive compared to the other ones we've done on the channel before, it is worth it. While looks are subjective though, I think the brushed aluminium looks and fits nicely. And lastly, we've got the power supply. For this, we've gone with the EVGA SuperNOVA NEX 650 80+ gold certified fully modular ATX power supply. It costs £63 and is not only a gold rated fully modular PSU, but it also has individually sleeved cables. EVGA are known for reliable PSUs and 650 watts gives us more than enough juice for this build. Finally, here come the benchmarks. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you guys. I tried searching for benchmarks using the same CPU and GPU config, since some games do have a difference in frame rates if you go with a slight CPU bound game, but I couldn't really find any reputable sources. So the ones in these benchmarks are from JayzTwoCents, and there'll be not only a link to the video, but also his channel, so check him out. I'm only going to mention 1080p and 1440p since I don't think 4K is viable with just this one card, until you run it in Crossfire. Now it can do it, it's just not worth it in my opinion, but for now, here are the numbers. So with The Witcher 3 at the Ultra preset with HyperX off, we're getting 54 FPS at 1080p and 40 FPS at 1440p, and that's when this card's stock. Overclock you see 1080p at 57 FPS and 1440p at 43 FPS. Not a huge difference, but it's definitely not bad, and since this game is really demanding to run, it makes your scores a lot more viable. Now in GTA 5, the R9 390 at stock settings where the in-game settings are set on high at 2x MSAA, gets 92 FPS at 1080p and 63 FPS at 1440p. Far Cry 4 is again somewhat similar. Settings for this game are an Ultra at 2x MSAA, and at stock you'll get around 77 FPS at 1080p and 51 FPS at 1440p. Overclock this card and you'll see performance rise up to 81 FPS at 1080p and 55 FPS at 1440p. Now this card is definitely worth it if you're looking to play at either of the two resolutions. However, if you have the money, I suggest you look at 144Hz monitors like the one I've got, since these will benefit from more than just 60Hz. As for Crysis 3 on the very high preset, you should get around 60 FPS at 1080p and 37 FPS at 1440p when this card is at stock. Overclocking it and you'll see it go up to 65 FPS at 1080p and 41 FPS at 1440p. This brings us on to the last game, which is Battlefield 4 at the Ultra preset. Stock you should get 110 FPS at 1080p and 76 FPS at 1440p. Overclock this and you'll see the figures jump to 115 FPS at 1080p and 81 FPS at 1440p. It's definitely worth it going to a higher refresh rate monitor. So that's it guys, hope you have enjoyed. If you liked this video and found it helpful, give it a like, and if you didn't, you guys know what to do. If you have any suggestions for future videos, share them down in the comments below and I'll get back to you. As always guys, thanks for watching, stay awesome, and this is Proto. Adios!